Welcome back, mamas. Y'all, today we are going to talk about grace. This is something that was inspired by something I did or actually did not do last week that made me want to remind you that we need to give grace to ourselves, what that looks like, and more importantly, how we do it. So let's get to it. Do you wish you had control of your days, that you had a rhythm, but instead feel overwhelmed, scattered, and like there's never enough time? You're in the right place. I'm Danielle, a recovering workaholic, wife, and stay-at-home mom of 2 girls. I've learned how to reclaim my time and find purpose and freedom so I can be present with my kids and feel like myself again. Here, we embrace where we are, but we don't stay there. So if you're ready to trade the chaos for clarity, the guilt for grace, and the endless to-do list for aligned flow, grab the kiddos a snack and toss in that laundry because I know you're multitasking, and let's do this because your time, your purpose, and you matter. Okay, mamas, so if you listen to the Purpose Poppin' on Tuesday, you know that I forgot to wish y'all a happy Mother's Day last week, which inspired me to actually take action and do something really special for y'all. And I announced that on Tuesday. I wanted to follow up today's episode with just what grace looks like, how to tap into that, because grace is not something that I always found easy. I used to beat myself up about things. I used to second guess myself. I used to live in this guilt, this self-doubt, this, regret or shame. And when I really came to terms with how to go about tapping into grace, everything changed. Okay. And so I just wanted to share that with you today. I'm going to start off with a quote. This one is from Joseph R. Cook that says, "Grace is the face that love wears when it meets imperfection." Grace is the face that love wears when it meets imperfection. Okay, y'all, that is deep. It is the face of love, though. If you think about it, we are all imperfect. None of us are perfect. And grace is the face that love wears when we meet that imperfection. It is a place where you can go and fully be loved by yourself, or you can offer that grace to others, right? It doesn't just apply to yourself, but I find it's usually the hardest to give that grace to yourself. And, if you listen to the episode, you know what I did, but it definitely applies to us in motherhood all of the time. If you are, yelling at your children, or, you get more upset than you wanted to, and you do something that you regret, or you make a promise, maybe like we'll go to the park later, and then that later never comes and you feel really horrible about it, or you put the kids down for a nap and you were supposed to get the laundry finished, but instead you picked up your phone and before you knew it, nap time was over and you didn't get the laundry finished, or, you dropped the ball with a friend or a parent or someone else, or like I did, right? Like with myself, I dropped the ball last week when I forgot to wish you guys a happy Mother's Day and launch my Mother's Day sale that I was going to have for Mother's Day weekend, right? And that was something that I had just, had with myself, that was an agreement with myself that I broke. So these are just a few of the things that can cause you to need to extend yourself that grace, or other people, right? But what grace does not look like is it does not look like sitting there in that guilt or that regret or that shame about something that you've done or something that you maybe didn't do, It doesn't mean doubling down and going to a negative place, right? You can go to a negative place and you can sit there and you can actually stay upset. And if in the case of like yelling at your child, you can actually get more agitated and then wind up going off the handle or, losing it completely. But instead, grace looks like meeting that imperfection with love, taking a minute to be kind to yourself and accept what happened, right? Like this has already happened. It's something that you did or you did not do. And now what you can do is reflect on that. You can reflect on it. How do you fix it, or how do you make it better? I have a quote from Brené Brown that says, "Grace means that all of your mistakes now serve a purpose instead of serving shame." Grace means that all of your mistakes now serve a purpose instead of serving shame. So ask yourself, what purpose can your mistake have? Right? What purpose can it have? For me, last week, when I decided to make this into an opportunity, I was like, you know what? I should do an episode on grace because I forgave myself very quickly. I could have gone to a dark place, right? I could have, and I would have in the past gone to a place where I would have been like, oh, I got to scramble and I got to put together another episode. I literally thought about it for a second and I'll drop it. And then I was like, no, Danielle, what can I do? How can I make this into an opportunity? How can I turn this around? And I decided that I would do something really cool for all my mamas, right? That empowered me to be able to embrace my mistake and then reframe it as a positive. So how can you do this, right? Like I decided instead of just doing like a $20 off special, which is what I was going to do for Mother's Day, I decided to turn it and do that. And also, if you do a 3-call bundle, I was going to give it to you at a very, very reduced rate, right? And it empowered me to be able to look at that as a positive. It was like, okay, you know what? I did do that. I got caught up in whatever it is, right? And this is what we can all do. You can do this for everything. Like even if you yell at your kids, right? You can apologize. You can go back and make a lesson on mistakes, like apologize to them, tell them you're sorry, explain to them that everyone makes mistakes and that makes it okay for them to make mistakes, right? If you had promised that you would go to the park and you didn't get to, maybe, you tell them the next day, you know what, tomorrow we're going to go to the park and we're going to have a picnic, right? Turn it into a positive. Say, okay, I know we didn't get to the park today, you guys, but tomorrow, actually, I've decided that we're going to go and we're going to make a picnic or do something really fun at the park that they would enjoy. When it comes to the laundry, maybe you could just make a game out of it, right? Like ask the kids to help you in some way, shape, or form. They typically like to do chores like that when, I remember my kids walking around with like fake sweepers and wanting to, sweep the floor, and they don't want to do that anymore, right? But just make a game out of it or just do it tomorrow, right? Just do it tomorrow. It will be okay, right? I have another quote that is from Max Lucado that says, grace is the voice that calls us to change and then gives us the power to pull it off. So think about that. Grace is the voice that calls us to change and then gives us the power to pull that off. That is very cool, right? Like there's something in us that knows when we've made a mistake, right? Like whether it is something that someone else points out or it's just our conscience, right? But grace is feeling that unpleasantness, right? That makes us want to be better, then taking that action that wants to pull it off or wants to change, right? It's not just sitting there with that unpleasantness. It calls us to change, right? And then it gives us the power to pull it off. This is when we have to lean into God, right? On Tuesday, I quoted scripture, 2 Corinthians, about grace being sufficient for you. God's grace is sufficient for us and how his power is made greater in our weakness. His strength is made greater in our weakness. We are able to tap into that grace. That grace then gives us the impetus, that gives us the drive, the fire, the thing that is going to make us be able to pull off something from that place that we are meeting ourselves with that grace, right? We are able to turn that negative into a positive and actually possibly make the circumstance even better, right? Whether it be a lesson that you taught your child, whether it be me offering you guys a better sale, whether it being you creating a special experience that your kids wouldn't have had otherwise. That is how you do it. So to recap, how do you extend that grace to yourself or to someone else? Well, number one, you recognize it, right? You recognize the mistake and you meet it with love. Then you accept it, you reflect on it, and you ask yourself, what purpose can this serve? What purpose can this mistake serve? And then you act on that. right? That you take that third step to act on it. And that is what I want you to be able to do for yourself, because this is such a powerful tool when you use it. And it's something that as moms, we can fall into this trap of sitting with that shame or that regret or that guilt that we have from maybe not doing all of the things that we think that we're supposed to, and making these mistakes and being in this overwhelmed state that causes us to do things that we wouldn't want to do, like yell at our kids or, act in a way that we didn't want them to see, whatever it is, right? And this allows us to accept it and to move forward and to actually take it and make it a positive. And that is something that I believe that you have to tap into God to be able to bring it to that next level, right? And tap into his power to turn it around and to make yourself feel like this weight has lifted, right? Whether it's you that you're having to extend the grace to or someone else, that you can actually, forgive them, or you can forgive yourself and you can move forward, right? And so I also want to mention that this is what prompted me to offer the sale that I'm doing right now. Go to prioritizewithpurpose.com and check it out. Prioritizewithpurpose.com. I am offering a call for $27. That's $20 off my normal price of $47. Or if you bundle 3 calls together, I'm offering 3 calls for $97. So that's essentially $27 for the first call and then $35 for the next 2. So it's a huge discount that I would love for you to take advantage of. I'm going to offer it the whole rest of May. I decided to do it for the whole rest of the month. So go and book a call. I would love to help you build this foundation where you know what is important to you and why, to discover for yourself what your core values are, your strengths, your weaknesses, or your struggles, to really figure out what you want, where you're headed, that true north, as I like to call it, and get you into what I like to call aligned flow. Some may call balance, but I like to call aligned flow, so that you are feeling joyful and joy-filled and fulfilled, instead of walking around in this overwhelm or this guilt or shame or self-doubt or things that you may be dealing with right now. And this is all starts with this foundation that we build in the coaching. So I hope to see you there, prioritizewithpurpose.com, and I will see you right back here next week. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, Mama. If so, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and then hit share and send this to a mom who needs this in her day. I'll meet you right back here next week. Keep smiling, y'all.